So the Denver Broncos, they're doubling down. They're doubling down on the Russell Wilson trade, essentially. And on one hand, I can see why people would make fun of this. On the other hand, I can see why a team in their situation would do this. Because what other choice do you really have if you're the Denver Broncos? Now, you had other choices. I want to make this clear. And I don't think they made a wrong choice. But I think they made a choice. Like, I'll put it like this. If you needed a Band-Aid, just a Band-Aid, and you decided to pay $2,000 to get stitches, you did stop the bleeding. You did fix the problem. But it might have been more than what was necessary, right? If you got stitches over a paper cut. Versus just buying the Band-Aid, which is really cheap and really, really fixable. What I think the Broncos' mistake here was, hey, Russ was terrible last year. He had a bad coach, a whole situation here. Part of it was the coach. Part of it was Russ. And they freaked out because they invested not just money, but draft picks, the whole future into Russ. And they decided we need to figure out a way to salvage this situation. And the way they salvaged this was, hey, you had a paper cut. Russ had a bad coach, bad offense. Let's get him a good coach, an established coach, and fix this whole thing. And they did that, but they decided to get stitches. And the reason I call trading for Sean Payton stitches is because, let's not forget, not only did you give Russ league top money, so you can't get rid of him, but you traded 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and a 5th-round pick. Then, for Sean Payton, you traded another first-round pick and a second-round pick in order to get Sean Payton. And you got a 3rd-round pick out of it. So you got to pick back. But you doubled down, right? You essentially paid 3 first and 3 second-round picks for a quarterback and a coach who might be past their prime. And I know the assumption is Sean Payton won a Super Bowl, man. Sean Payton won a Super Bowl, Quincy. Of course this is going to work out. You know who else won a Super Bowl one time, very early in their career? Well, not very early, but a long time ago, like plus 10 years ago. And it hasn't mattered since. Mike, what's his name? Mike, the Cowboys head coach. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on names today. But Mike McCarthy. He won a Super Bowl, remember? And then never got back. And then never won again. And it's not like he is the fix for the for the Cowboys. I don't think you needed Sean Payton. And I don't think Sean Payton, and look, if the Broncos won the Super Bowl this year, and it's because Sean Payton's out there head coaching his way to a Super Bowl, and it's not because anybody's playing well, he's just manufactured, sure, it would be worth it. But a head coach is not worth a 1st and 2nd round pick. You can point to me the John Gruden trade, right? Because that's the one everybody points to. They traded for John Gruden, won the Super Bowl the next year. When you look at that team, that's a very good defense. John Gruden's an offensive guy. Tony Dungy was in charge of that defense in Tampa Bay. I mean, it wasn't all John Gruden, right? It was a lot of Derek Brooks. It was a lot of Warren Sapp. You know what I mean? That team was going to be really good regardless. But that's where they kind of ended up with this whole situation. And the Broncos, on top of trading for Russ, trade for Sean Payton. I guess the thinking is, hey, Sean worked magic with the short quarterback and Drew Brees. He'll be able to work magic with Russell Wilson, even though they're both very different quarterbacks. Drew Brees is one of the more accurate pocket navigators in NFL history. Russell Wilson, not a pocket navigator. He is a pocket evader, but not a pocket navigator. Russell Wilson, not really known for being the most accurate throwers of all time, right? Very good on deep balls, but not everything else. I just don't think this was completely thought out. I don't think it was going to take a genius, and I think NFL teams do this a lot, right? Where they have a problem and they over-engineer the solution. The problem is you had an incompetent coach because you hired a coach because you wanted to attract a quarterback in Aaron Rodgers. So you hired this quarterback coach. For whatever reason, you thought that was a good idea. And now you're bringing in Sean Payton because you're panicking about Russell Wilson. The problem is the process with the Broncos, because the reason they're bringing these guys in makes no sense. But to have Russ already and to double down and get Sean Payton when I don't think you needed Sean Payton, you just needed a qualified head coach. And that doesn't even have to be somebody with experience. That just has to be somebody who's not Nathaniel Hackett. You just needed somebody qualified to hold the position. You didn't need a genius. The reason you have Russell Wilson is so you don't need a genius. And here's also the other part of this thing that I don't think people factor in. Sean just going to come in and do what this guy did with Drew, right? That's what a lot of people's assumptions are. Well, one is Sean Payton going to get Pete Carmichael? That's who's ran the offenses for Sean Payton for 12 years. Is that going to be his offensive coordinator in Denver? I don't know yet. Also, when it comes to Sean Payton, what offense is he going to try to run? Because he can't just run the same offense he ran with Drew Brees. Two, on top of that, part of Russ's issue is that Russ want to do what Russ want to do, right? And Pete Carroll wasn't enough to get Russ to do what Russ wanted, to get Russ to not do what Russ wanted to do. Pete Carroll, somebody he's won a Super Bowl with, the guy who drafted him in the third round. This is a legendary coach. And he got to the point with Russ where he couldn't do what he wanted to do. Russ didn't want to do what he was asking him to do. And they had a breakdown. So it wasn't simply, hey, man, let's bring in Russ, a coach that he can respect, that's going to talk to him in a way that works with him, because he just came from Pete Carroll and had those issues with Pete Carroll. The problem with Russ has not been the coaching. The problem has been Russ. Part of it is he's aging. He doesn't want to accept that and change his style. Maybe he just can't change his style. But that's the big problem with Russ. It's not the coach. Plugging in Sean Payton is going to give you an upgrade from Nathaniel Hackett. You'll probably make the playoffs. But you don't trade 3 first-round picks, 3 second-round picks, and sign big-time money to almost make the second round. Like, we talk about the Deshaun Watson deal as if the Browns gave up a ton for that, and they did. It's less than what what the Broncos have given up for Sean Payton and Russell Wilson. It really is. And Sean Payton and Russell Wilson are old. Russell Wilson is old. 33. Like, these quarterbacks, we all think they last till they're 45 because Brady has lasted till he's 45. But they usually don't. They usually age out at like 35. Russ is close to that age. He looks like he's already there. And 35's late. Like, look at Matt Ryan. He don't even look like the same guy anymore. He's only 35. This is an aggressive, all-in move for a position that I don't think that's why the Broncos stunk last year, was just because the head coach was bad. It was a lot more about Russ. And Russ has had these issues with Nathaniel Hackett. He had these issues the year before with Pete Carroll, who's a Hall of Fame level coach. I don't know why you would put all of your chips in to another Hall of Fame coach to see if that's a solution when you only were able to trade for him because one Hall of Fame coach was tired of him. I don't think the coaching was the issue with Russ. The issue with Russ is Russ. And if Pete Carroll didn't get through to him, Sean Payton probably not going to get through to him either. That's my thoughts. Let me know what y'all think in the comment section below.